program. The larger problem for the Buckeyes, they play just 5 games, and unless league rules or games are adjusted, they must reach the 6-game threshold to be eligible for the Big Ten title game against Northwestern. Ohio State remains in the playoffs as the 4th seed with Bama, Notre Dame, and Clemson ahead of them. How the cancellation of the Michigan game will impact Ohio State's future is yet to be determined. Keyshawn Johnson said this morning that 5-0 should not be good enough to get them into the playoffs. So what impact will this cancellation have on the rest of Ohio State's season? For that, we bring in our friend Paul Feinbaum. And there he is. Top of the morning to you, Paul. Always good to see you. Hope you and the fam are well. Paul, you just heard all that. So what's your reaction on how this could affect Ohio State and if they should be in the playoffs?
Well, number one, I'm glad Keyshawn Johnson is not on that committee or, frankly, any committee that involves me. But I will say this, Molly, the Big Ten is meeting right now. The athletic directors are on a Zoom call, and they need to rectify this situation, and they need to rectify it immediately. This has been a league that has done almost everything haphazardly since August when they shut down, then they came back in mid-September, and they made up the rules as they went along. So that's why I don't think this should be complicated. What I think they should do, though, to avoid any criticism from elsewhere, is to find Ohio State a game this weekend. It's not that complicated. Remember, the Big Ten championship game is next week. They'll play Northwestern, and it's not really a game that is pitting two of the great titans in college football. Northwestern has had a really good season, but they're not in the national championship race. But also going on next week are a lot of other games. The number 2 to the number 3s, the 4s, the 5s from the division are playing each other. So why can't they just rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic, so to speak, and find Ohio State a quality game Saturday, give them the opportunity to legitimately, according to their rules, get in the Big Ten championship game and move on. And if they can't do that, then change the rules. Otherwise, they are literally destroying their own opportunity to get to the college football playoff.
Paul Feinbaum, always a pleasure to talk to you, buddy. Happy holidays, by the way. I want to make this statement before I ask you this question. I mean, I think a legitimate argument could be made. Max and I have joked about, some of the dumb things that we've witnessed. The Atlanta Falcons was my choice, acting like an onside kick was a punt against the Dallas Cowboys. He picked what transpired the other day. I forgot what it was about, Max Kellerman, but I mean, that was the Jets. I'm sorry, the Jets, absolutely, with Greg Williams in that call. But the Big Ten is right up there as some of that appears to be some of the dumbest people. Because, first of all, you prematurely canceled the season. If you hadn't done that, Paul, we wouldn't be having a discussion about Ohio State's 6th game if you hadn't prematurely made that decision. So because of that, I put this on them. And because it's on them, that's why I'm a bit flexible about Ohio State being at 5-0, trying to get that 6th game, because needing 6 games to be eligible for the Big Ten title game is something that the Big Ten came up with as they went along. And it's not Ohio State's fault. It's not them that tested positive for COVID-19. It was Michigan, who probably used it as an excuse to get out of the game the way they've looked this year. Having said all of that, here's my question. Damn it, they're number 4. Texas A&M is number 5. I know it's SEC, Big Ten, different COVID-19 protocols, but damn it, they home because their game has been canceled against Ole Miss. They ready. Ohio State's ready. How come we can't make that happen as a playing game?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to quote you Big Ten policy and SEC policy, which, by the way, they made up before this season.
Stephen
A., that would be the best. That would be the best game of the weekend. It'd be one of the best games of the year. And this is not a particularly good weekend. I mean, the biggest game is Ohio State, Michigan. That's gone. Networks pay a lot of money to get the rights to broadcast that game because it brings in millions of viewers, more than any other game of the year. But the protocols aren't the issue. It's not like the Big Ten protocol and the SEC's protocols are all that different. It's just stubbornness. And I think they should have figured out a way to do it. We saw last week with Coastal Carolina and BYU. You can play a game on 3 days' notice. I understood the Big Ten early on. Remember when Nebraska wanted to play Chattanooga or somebody, and the Big Ten said no? At the time, it seemed like the wrong protocol. But now it just seems like it makes too much sense. It's not going to happen, by the way. You already know that. But it's a legitimate debate, and I think it would be great for college football. But one thing Stephen A., because we've been having these conversations a long time, the mentality in college football is as antediluvian as you can get. I mean, it surpasses even the NFL, which is very stodgy in protecting the shield. But in college football, they do not change, even during a season that everything has been turned upside down.
Well, I agree with one thing Stephen A. just said wholeheartedly, and I disagree with another. First of all, the canceling of the season prematurely. Guys, the fact of the matter is we're getting to the end of college football season because the tolerance for dead Americans in our country is far, far greater than I ever thought it would be because of, I think, frankly, poor leadership at the highest levels of our government. And that affected everybody. We're talking about 300,000 now, right? Dead Americans, something like that. And that's okay, right? And everyone keeps playing. And the issue is not just the player safety, it's the spread of the virus, which simply wasn't contained. We're an embarrassment worldwide in terms of that. And so that's one of the reasons the context has changed, right? Since that threshold is higher than any sane, reasonable person would have thought it would be, yeah, you can get to the end of a college football season. And why did they cancel in the beginning? I understand why they did. Nevertheless, I totally agree with Stephen A. about Ohio State and Texas A&M. That's going to be the best game of the weekend. Ohio State, Michigan wasn't going to be any good anyway. It would make everything better and solve the problem. Of course, that's what they should do. But here's my question to you, Paul. Let's say they don't, right? Since they make up the rules anyway, here's the least of the best options. Ohio State plays 5 games and they're in the playoff. Like, what's wrong with that, really? If you're not going to schedule another game, just change the rules. 5 games you can be in the playoff. Play for the conference championship.
Yeah, I totally agree, Max, and I think they'll get in because we saw last night the committee put them number 4. If they weren't impressed with Ohio State's resume at this point, and there's only one more weekend after this, before the next weekend's the final weekend, then they wouldn't be number 4. Texas A&M is a really good team. They have a 28-point loss to Alabama. I don't know what would happen if Alabama hosted Ohio State this weekend. Alabama's beating everyone by 3 and 4 or 5 touchdowns. But you're 100% correct. No rules matter this year because everything was made up. And as far as the Big Ten, they made a premature decision, as Stephen. All they had to do was delay, but they had to be the smartest kids on the block and say, we know more than you know. And once they looked around in early September when things were getting better, it all fell apart. If the country if we were where we are today back in August, the college football season would not have happened. I think that's pretty clear. But the country was in a slightly better spot, and we went on.
Paul, I'm going to throw this by you and Max Kellerman. We got to go. I'm going to say this quickly. We've been asking everybody else to come together, right? We've been asking the schools to come together. We've been asking the athletes to come together. How about asking the networks to come together? Texas A&M Ole Miss was scheduled for CBS. Ohio State, Michigan was scheduled for Fox. How about Fox and CBS coming together to apply pressure on the SEC and the Big Ten to have the game and air the game on both damn channels? I know it sounds crazy, but damn it, I'm saying it because there's nothing else to watch for college football this weekend.
Like Mayweather and Pacquiao, Stephen A.
Put them on both channels. Just put them on both.
Paul Feinbaum, the outfit is clean.
We're flicking, watch
the
one or the
analysis
other.
on point per usual. We will talk to you soon.